Did you know that by the year 2050, there will be over 9 billion people living on the planet? What does this mean to agriculture and our food supply? Will there be enough to feed the world?
For most people in wealthy countries, the issue of food security does not seem to be a pressing concern. Understandably, we can go to our supermarkets and buy food from all over the world, and it's relatively cheap. What we haven't taken into account mostly is the idea of how much pressure is going to be placed on our agricultural systems between now and 2050. And agricultural scientists are all scratching their heads because, as of yet, we do not know how we're going to deliver that much food to all these people in a diversity of geographic areas. Our belief is that we need to help to deliver that security, that confidence to individuals and communities that they can feed their families. When we do that, that is really the beginnings of a society that's peaceful, ultimately becomes prosperous, and ultimately is able not only to deliver food, but to deliver health, education, and better living standards in those countries.
Food security is already an issue in many parts of the world, and with increasing population growth, climate change, which is causing more extreme weather events such as droughts and floods, and the limited availability of arable land, food security will be affected even more.
Whenever there are food insecurity problems around the world, one way or another, we will have responsibilities that we have to act upon. If we don't invest in that, then what we will see is everything from migration, riots, governmental changes, even civil wars and invasions take place when one country has food and the other doesn't.
To make sure everyone has enough food, Canada and other developed food-producing nations need to increase food production by 70%. And food production in the developing world, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia, must double or triple. But how will this be achieved?
Our fundamental strategy can be summarized with 3 S's, and they are seeds, soils, and software. Our programs on seeds are relevant to productivity in the developed and developing world, bringing value to farmers in both of those areas.
To lead the Institute's work in this area, highly acclaimed international expert in apomixes, Dr. Tim Charbel has been hired. His team will be studying and decoding nature so we can learn from evolution. We can then apply what we're learning to agriculture. Dr. Charbel's research is on a global scale. As part of the project, collaborations will be formed with existing research networks in Europe, Nigeria, Ghana, Argentina, and official agreements will be forged with developing nations.
The work on soils is intended to both support high levels of productivity, but at the same time to ensure that we have long-term sustainability in our farming practices. The soil is actually a living organism. In fact, there are more species in one spoonful of soil than there are species in the entire Brazilian rainforest. And we are now hiring in internationally renowned scientists in this area to investigate the relationship between the soil, the roots of a plant, and the microorganisms that surround those roots.
GIFS expects the soil research program to eventually include the building of a lab with more than 30 researchers and to hire new faculty members. Now to the final S, that's software.
The IT industry and the agricultural industries are now intersecting in many different ways. In particular, we now see in just about every tractor cab the ability to use GPS to locate that tractor. What most people don't realize is that now when a farmer goes across a field, they actually acquire data as well as doing things to the field, and eventually so they can determine how much fertilizer is needed, how much other work on the soil is needed, whether certain herbicides are going to be needed, whether a different seeding rate is going to be needed in order to get the best crop. So acquiring data and being able to analyze that data using computers is now a critical part of North American farming.
Already, farmers and breeders are exploiting everything from the World Wide Web to cell phones to process agricultural data. The Institute believes that the IT revolution will make as big a contribution in the developing world as it will in the developed world. The Global Institute for Food Security was established in December 2012 through a unique partnership among Potash Corp., the world's largest crop nutrient company, the Government of Saskatchewan, and the University of Saskatchewan. For more information, visit www.gifs.ca.